So it's day 85 of Britain by Kayak. I'm just leaving Maidens. I've just left Lisa, Matt and Kieran at the harbour side. Tamara and Eleanor, I said goodbye to them at the accommodation near Ayrshire, or closer to Glasgow. We've enjoyed a lovely weekend together, celebrate my birthday. Lovely that they came all the way up here to see me. And now I start a pretty significant stage of the expedition. So I've come across the Solway Firth, round the Mull of Galway, and up the west side of the Galway Peninsula to get to Maidens. I've completed 2,080 kilometres so far. It's taken me 85 days to do that. I had quite a lot of time off the water due to bad weather, and so today really marks the start of a new phase. It's the west. I'm going to go into the west coast of Scotland once I get round the Mull of Kintyre. I've got a feeling the next half of my expedition, the next 2,000 kilometres, might pass a bit more quickly than the first half, but the weather will determine that ultimately. For now, my mission is to get round the Mull of Kintyre, and that's going to be in stages. The first stage is today. I cross from Maidens to Arran. I'm crossing over to about a 20-kilometre crossing to the south, round the south side of Arran. I'm going to camp there, wild camp, at a place called Slidery. There's a little river, Slidery, that comes out. Going to find somewhere to camp there. Tomorrow I then make a bid to go across another crossing, 20k, into the Sound of Sander. I need to arrive there around about 2 in the afternoon to catch the beginning of the west flowing ebb. So I'll launch probably around midday. And then I'll stop on the southern sort of edge of the Mull at Kayak Beach. And that's my decision point there. If I've had a good crossing, if I'm feeling fairly fresh, if the conditions are good, and it's not after 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I could make a bid tomorrow afternoon and get round the whole of the Mull of Kintyre up to Machrihanish and stop there. That would be a 60k day, but 40k of that would be with a fairly big flow around the Mull. Or I could camp at Kayak if I don't feel too good or the conditions aren't great, and then it would be an early start around 5 AM, launch around 6:30, and again get the ebb around up to Machrihanish, rest there, and maybe go on up to the Isle of Giga. So I've got some choices to make once I arrive at Kayak Beach. But today it's Arran. Let's go. So I've made the crossing over to Arran, which is just over there, and I'm just going to have a break here on this slipway, which is the island of Plada with its lighthouse. I'm hoping we can get out of here somewhere. Doesn't look like there's anybody about. So I'm approaching Slidery on the southwest side of Arran. Wind's picked up. It's about force 3, 4. It's been on my directly ahead, slowing me down. It's been quite a long crossing. I tried to suss out a campsite over there, but nothing doing. There's some buildings over here that might offer me some protection from the wind, so I'll check that out. Yeah. So I've landed at Slidery on the southwest corner of Arran. Gorgeous sunset. I've got my midgie hat out because it's midgified. Every time the wind drops away they come out. It's blowing up again. I had quite a windy crossing, so it took me nearly 5 hours to do 33k with no tide and a headwind. But I'm here now, and I'm sort of positioned to get across to the Mull, which is over my shoulder there behind me. That's another 20-kilometre crossing, and we'll see how that works out tomorrow. So it's Britain by Kayak day 86. I've just left Arran, just behind me, and I'm heading over to the Mull of Kintyre for the second part of my staged bid to get round this notorious Mull. It's the second of the Scottish tidal race headlands that I'm tackling, the other one being Galloway. Wind is about force 3, gusting 4, directly on my side. Sea's not too bad, to be honest. I've got about 4.5 hours to get to the Mull, and then I'm going to tuck in the Sound of Sander beach at Southend Beach for a rest, and I'm going to assess whether I stay there the night, which is likely, and take an early morning transit around the Mull tomorrow, or whether I go for it this afternoon. I've timed this to give me that option this afternoon, because the west going ebb starts flowing through the Sound of Sander and round the Mull from about 2:30 in the afternoon, which is pretty much when I will arrive there, and I should have enough time, as long as I'm round to Machrihanish by 5 o'clock. But with a 6 km/h tide under me, that should be possible. It's just whether I feel like it after a 4.5 hour paddle across this bay. So let's get on with it. So I'm about 3/4 of the way across between Arran and the Mull of Kintyre. Conditions were quite good in the first half, only force 2, 43 from the beam, bit choppy. They've picked up now, probably a 4, maybe gusting 5. Lots of continuous whitecaps now, but the sea is quite manageable. I'm actually heading for the land at the nearest point, and I'm going to rest and have lunch there and wait for the favourable tide to start to set in, which will be around about 2 PM this afternoon. So yeah, looking forward to a rest and some lunch. So I've just paddled from Arran, and I've landed here, which is about 5 kilometres south of Campbelltown, to have a rest. The last hour I was pushing the tide and my boat speed dropped to about 5 to 6 kilometres an hour. So I was ahead of the ebb that I need to carry me into the Sound of Sander. So I put in here, I've had a rest, had some lunch. It's now nearly 3 o'clock, so the ebb should be starting to flow just gently, but enough to push me round the corner the last 15 kilometres to Southend Beach, where I'm going to camp tonight. I don't think I'm going to go around the whole of the Mull. Out there the wind has picked up to about 5-6, and whilst it's going to be 4-5 tomorrow morning early when I leave, about 5-6 AM, I think I'll be fresher if I go tomorrow morning. So let's go. So I'm now rounding into the Sound of Sander. I've got quite a lot of wind coming off the cliffs, sort of katabatic winds coming down. At one point they tried to snatch my paddles, but the sea state is good. If I look ahead at the Sound, all good. But we're quite early, at the very start of the ebb flowing that way. So, morning. It's day 87, written by Kayak. It's just after 6 in the morning, and I've just launched from Southend Beach, which is at the southern end of the Mull of Kintyre. And today is a big day. It's the 3rd stage of my transit around the Mull of Kintyre, and it's the critical one. So I've launched into what should be an establishing ebb, westerly flowing tide. It's going to take me 8 kilometres to the most southerly point on the Kintyre, on the Mull, and then round to Gayas Point, which is where it's going to get serious. I think I'll hit the overfall somewhere around there, and I'm going in blind really. I don't really know how bad they're going to be today. You can never really tell. I've done as much research as I can. Right here, right now, as you can see, the sea state is pretty good, but I can guarantee you it won't stay like that. So we're one way or another, significant day. So this is one of the most renowned tidal races in the country. So it needs to be treated with a great deal of respect. If I don't like what I see, I'll turn around and try and come back against the flow. Let's see how it goes. So 5 kilometers in, I'm traveling at 11, 12 kilometers an hour. It tells you the tide's running at about 5 kilometers an hour. The wind is picked up. It's a northwesterly 28 to 34 kilometers an hour, sort of a 3-4 really. It's been accelerated down over these cliffs. I'll show you. There's the cliffs ahead. Now I've got a line of white water ahead. Probably can't see that. There's island over there as well. And just sporadic sort of a line of sporadic white horses kicking up. I'm going to take the inside passage really close to the cliffs as far as I can, although there's no guarantee that that's going to be the safest place in the long run. So 7.5 kilometers in, I'm now passing the southerly point, and the overfalls are really building. I don't know if you can make those white caps out there. At the moment though, it's just the tops of the waves that are breaking. But good news is there's an inside passage. There's the southernmost point of the Mull, and off straight ahead there's a calm area which I'm going to take. So 14 kilometers an hour now. There's another one at Merlin's Caves on the southernmost point, and there's the view back into the sunrise. We're now approaching Kayak Point, which is the southwesterly point of the Mull, just before the lighthouse, and the point at which I'll start to turn northwest, and I'll probably into this, well, I'm already punching into this very fierce wind, which I think is being accelerated over the cliffs. But the good news is, as you can see, the sea state is really good now. It's actually calmed down. These overfalls today aren't anywhere near as bad as I'd imagined, and I've been sort of fretting about this for the last few days because of its reputation. Now I might get a sting in the tail around the corner, but for now I'm making good progress. The wind feels so strong that it feels like I'm being blown backwards, although just now it's eased a little bit, thankfully. But even though I felt like I was being blown backwards, I was still doing 12 kilometers an hour. But it's certainly intimidating, this environment here. And it's once you launch from Southend, you're really committed, because going back against this 5-6 kilometer tide would be pretty hard. There are 3 things that you need to take account of when you're in these sorts of environments, these advanced environments. One is, am I maintaining the course I want to be on, or am I being blown in a different direction by wind or tide? The second is, am I making speed over the ground? And that's why I like to have a GPS on my deck, because conditions can change very quickly, and I need to know I'm still going forward, because sometimes it doesn't feel like it. Particularly if you're offshore and you've got no frame of reference to judge your speed by visually. And those 2 things are important because they play into your energy levels. Am I going to arrive at my destination within the window I expected, and within the capacities that I've got physically and energy wise? And the third question is, can I handle the water 50 meters around me? And can I handle the water the next 50 meters that I'm moving into? And that's important because we suffer from something called contextual interference. And contextual interference means that we can be overawed by the cliffs, by the noise of the break on the base of the cliffs or on the beach. The arena that we're in can really unsettle us. The fact that I've got a line of white water to my left, the fact that I don't know what's round the corner, all of these play on us psychologically. But what it comes down to is, can I handle the water I'm sitting in and immediately around me? And if you can focus on that and focus on your future water, then you'll make more objective decisions. Anyway, I'm now at Deas Point, so we'll see what the wind has in store for me around the corner here. So here's Deas Point. There, we've got a lookout up there. The water ahead looks good. A little bit of a shoaling there on the headland. The overfalls are now probably a kilometre offshore, much further than I anticipated. And I'm starting to move round, my heading's moving round 300 degrees. I'm heading round towards, I'm now going northwest. I'm just going through some agitated water here off the headland, and you can just see the lighthouse coming into view. So I'm at now 10.5 kilometres. The lighthouse should be about 11 and a half. And then I've got the northerly run against the wind. Oh, it's quite agitated here, look. Quite whirly, and there's whirls and swirls kicking my boat about. Nothing particularly threatening, just very agitated. And I reckon there's another 100 metres of this. Hopefully then it will calm down. So the water has settled now just northwest of Deas Point, but my boat speed has dropped to about 4 kilometres an hour, so I'm in a big eddy. I hope that clears. I mean, I need to get to Machrihanish by sort of 9:30 before the tide starts to turn against me. But hopefully it'll straighten itself out soon. So I'm round pretty much directly off the lighthouse, which you can see behind me. Problem I have is my boat speed has collapsed down to 4 or 5 kilometres an hour. I'm heading offshore because I'm obviously stuck in this eddy. I'm heading offshore in the hope that I can pick it up, the north flowing ebb again. Otherwise it's going to be a very long slog up to Machrihanish. We're still moving offshore through some agitated water, which I think might be the boundary, the eddy line effectively. The boat speed is picking up to about 8 kilometres an hour now, which is good news. I'm still going to go a little bit further out though. Very confused water where the two streams are meeting. Well, that strategy seems to have worked. I'm now maybe 2 kilometres off the lighthouse, and I'm now doing just over 10 kilometres an hour. Still quite agitated sea, but quite manageable really, it's quite alright. I'm hoping it'll straighten out a little bit as I get further north. So I'm now heading into Machrihanish. I think I've lost the tide because my boat speed's down to about 6-7 kilometres an hour now, and now I've rounded the headland. I'm paddling northeast, just round the next headland I put into the beach there. And it's been a passage round the Mull of Kintyre that was actually way more straightforward than I anticipated. I thought the northwesterly force 4 5-way winds would work against the tide and kick up the overfalls, but they actually were much further offshore than I expected them to be. And the inside passage right up to the lighthouse was fine. The problem then was the big eddy and the drop in boat speed, so I had to head offshore to pick that up again. But didn't really encounter any unmanageable seas at all. I still feel quite tired, but I think it's the psychological drain of you know, undertaking quite a committing passage. And whilst I had good conditions today, despite the force 4-5 northwesterlies, you know, its reputation is there for a reason, and I know good paddlers who have had really bad experiences here. So yeah, I'm lucky and I'm pleased that it's behind me now. And I'm now looking up the west coast of Scotland towards the Isle of Gigger. But we've got force 7-8 gales coming in this afternoon, so my second stage this evening from 5 o'clock with the ebb may not happen. I don't know if I caught that in time, but that was a pair of otters. I think they just surfaced right next to my boat here, 2 otters. And there are some seals as well, just basking on the rocks.